Yeah, I was going to say, I don't hear you. Good morning. We want to make sure the live streaming audience can hear that you're here and that you're still pumped and excited, because we've got something really, really different to present now. I mentioned it a little bit on Monday, but I want to talk a little bit about our initiative called Building Trust and Justice. We know that trust between residents and the justice system is just one of the keys to safe communities. How many of you all think that it doesn't matter whether your communities have trust in our systems? Right, not a single hand is going to go up, because we all know how important that is. When police and other criminal justice professionals have the confidence of citizens, there's greater respect for the law, and as a rule, there's actually less crime and less disorder. We call this procedural justice. Basically, procedural justice says that when a community feels that the law is being administered fairly and without bias, they will support law enforcement and other justice system professionals. We heard that on Monday from the police commissioner in Boston about how important it was for them to have relationships with the community and how low their violent crime rates among youth are because of those relationships. In other words, the safety of our communities and the legitimacy of our justice system are integrally tied together. 2 years ago, we launched the National Initiative on Building Community Trust and Justice. The basic idea of this initiative is to build on what we already know about procedural justice and help communities to begin to heal historic rifts that are so often centered on the justice system. Ferguson was just an example of many of how simple distrust can erupt in a community when you're not expecting it to erupt. That balloon analogy that we saw on was that Tuesday or Monday? It's all running together. The balloon analogy we saw on Monday is not just about the impact of trauma and things on individuals. It impacts communities in a similar fashion. So we're working with several private and academic partners and an advisory board of law enforcement practitioners and community and faith-based leaders. These groups are working to repair fractured relationships between the justice system agencies and the citizens they serve. And notice I'm being very intentional in my words. This is not a police issue. This is a system issue. As we saw in Ferguson, it's about how we assess fees and fines. It's a much bigger issue than the relationship with law enforcement. But as I say to our law enforcement partners, we appreciate you. We are so grateful for law enforcement, and their relationship is important because they are the face to most communities of our justice system. So currently, 6 cities are serving as demonstration sites. One of the things that we're doing is bringing together law enforcement officers and community residents to talk to each other. As I said, talk with each other, to each other, not at each other, about the state of their relationships and to figure out how to make that relationship stronger. We're pleased that what we're seeing in these 6 sites and that we're seeing progress, but we also know that there are other communities across the country that are engaged in similar efforts. And we know that there are a lot of great ideas about how we can build stronger bonds between communities and justice systems. So we wanted to find a way, a creative way, an innovative way, a different way. You heard them talk about that we're really into innovation these days and doing things differently. And what we're about to do today is something we have never done at the Department of Justice. So we wanted to hear from people about our ideas. So I happened to be in a meeting at the White House several months ago and was talking to the executive director of the Major City Sheriff's Association, and he was talking to me about this partnership he had with Adventures. And I particularly, what we were talking about is how do we hear from young people? Because, you know, we all have wonderful ideas, but as we've seen the past 2 days, having young people involved in the conversation is critical to solving this issue. Is that right? I want to know you're out there. And did we lose our young people? So in talking with Adventures, they have a network of universities that they work with to address some of the country's most pressing social challenges through a research-based competition. So in working with the folks at Adventures, we decided that we're going to figure out how we can deal with this issue, tackle this issue about building community trust using the Adventures model. So I want to thank Tony Scrow. Where's Tony? I know he's here somewhere. There he goes. I want to thank him for in particular for coming up with this innovative way of not only are we having young people figure out how to reach young people, by having this competition at universities across the country, we're also sensitizing and educating a whole group of young future leaders about this issue who, whether they win this competition or not, will be out there spreading this issue. So I also want to recognize Sean Farrell. Where's Sean? I know there he goes. Sean Farrell, please join me in. Thank you. For putting this together. And I will say that I don't know how many, everybody here knows how quickly the federal government works, don't you? We have an idea and we execute it on it tomorrow, don't we? We don't. But we got this done, so you know what a feat that was. So we received some wonderful, wonderful proposals from many of the universities, and we have 2 finalists that are going to present today. We have a team from Missouri State University. You're going to come up, but stand up right now just so they can recognize you. And we have a team from Texas Christian University. Stand up. So we brought them here so that you can select the winners. Now, they're all winners. I had breakfast with them this morning and made sure, now they are fiercely competitive, so do not misunderstand me when I'm saying they're all winners. They intend to win. And you guys will get to vote. I'll explain how we vote later. But it's important for us to preview this with the communities who are really closest to these issues and to find out from you all what you think about these proposals. So what we're going to do is have each team spend about 15 minutes on their presentations. After their presentations, I will ask them questions. They don't know what the questions are, and neither do I, because I haven't seen these either. And so this is new and fresh, and I'm just as excited as you all are. And then while we have the My Brother's Keeper panel, you all will be voting. We'll tally the votes, and then we'll announce the winner. So I am first going to call up Missouri State to make their presentation. So let's give them a warm round of applause while they set up.
Leo loves his coffee black with a pinch of sugar. Leo volunteers at her child's school. Leo coaches his son's Little League baseball team. Leo takes her dog on a 2-mile walk every morning. Leo is a father, a daughter, a brother, a friend. Leo is a law enforcement officer. There are over 780,000 Leos nationwide who put on a uniform and go to work just like us. Except, guarding their community is not just a day job. It's 24/7, ensuring the safety of the citizens they serve and protect. Meet Leo is a place to hear the stories of the people behind the uniform. It's a place to be reminded that we're all human, and that our communities are stronger, safer, and happier when we work together.
Good morning. We are Missouri State University. I'm Kimberly.
I'm Abby. And I'm Megan.
The Meet Leo brand shows that police are more than just the uniforms they wear. They have a family, friends, and hobbies, just like you and I. Meet Leo is the first step to change.
Meeting law enforcement officers allows us to find commonality and create relationships. These connections make the issues personal and give us a reason to take further action.
Today, we are excited to share with you Meet Leo.
Throughout our 14-week journey, we met with law enforcement officers, educators, judges, lawyers, university students, and community leaders.
7 focus groups, 40 interviews, and over 1,000 survey responses led us to determining our target markets.
The first were college students, specifically, the first were millennials, specifically college students. Next was Generation Z, which included those 10 to 13 years old, and also their teachers.
There are over 83 million millennials nationwide. This makes up the most diverse generation, with over 44% being part of a minority race or ethnic group. Currently, there are 1.2 million international students studying in the United States, with the enrollment of these individuals expected to increase by 10%.
During our focus groups, some students shared stories of being racially profiled, while other students' only interactions with law enforcement were during simple traffic stops. All students agree that there was a disconnect between law enforcement and the community, but those that lacked a personal connection weren't motivated to take action.
To reach millennials, we took to social media. Through our interactive platform, users within the Meet Leo community were encouraged to share their own content rather than reposting existing online stories. We wanted to show that officers are just like us.
To kick this off, we challenged our Facebook community to share stories about their Leo loved ones using #MeetLeo. If not for our unique platform, these stories likely would have gone unheard.
In just 1 month, we met over 45 Leos, a boyfriend, a cancer survivor, and even those killed in the line of duty. If you look on your tables today, you'll see just some of the heartfelt stories that were shared using #MeetLeo.
To give our followers a better understanding of the life of a Leo, we created videos to post on our Facebook page.
We met Leo Nicole while spending the day with the Kansas City Police Department. She patrols the same high-crime streets that she grew up on, and she invited us on a ride-along to see firsthand what she deals with every day. Watch as Leo Nicole takes you through the streets of Kansas City.
One thing that I preach often when I'm on my social media, whether it's Facebook or Twitter, I would tell my family and friends, we're not your enemy. We all have family and friends. Myself, as well as other officers, are also from this area, and those who may not be from this area but been on the department long enough to know that we care about the community that we serve. We care about the interactions with people that we deal with every single day. We're not here, our goal is not to take everybody to jail or take your kids away from you. We're actually here to serve and protect. We risk our lives every day to put this badge on and put this uniform on and step out here on these streets. Contact your local department. You come to the police station, say hi. If I'm rolling down the street, wave me down. We're human. We'll have a conversation to the community that we patrol in. We're here to interact.
Hard trying to call me. 318. 318, go ahead.
In just 4 short weeks, we gained over 1,100 likes. Over 160,000 people from 16 states and 22 countries were given the opportunity to meet Leo.
Encouraging the public to meet law enforcement officers is important, but teaching officers how to best interact with their communities is equally vital. We conducted a content analysis of over 200 police department Facebook pages and analyzed the posts for content, frequency, and presentation. Many of the pages that we viewed were outdated or rarely used, and less than 50% of the pages analyzed showed engagement with the community.
To help departments better engage with their followers, we developed a social media toolkit. This turnkey toolkit includes examples of successful versus unsuccessful posts, explains the frequency of how to involve with current Facebook users, and gives tips and recommendations on how to increase their current social media following.
This kit provides a valuable resource for departments, even if they can't hire a full-time media employee. If you think this kit would be beneficial, we brought some with us that you can take home with you today.
During focus groups with millennials, we uncovered a key insight about international college students. Khan, a Missouri State student from Pakistan, shared that he felt genuinely fearful for his life when he saw a U.S. police officer. Other students shared that their perceptions on law enforcement were formulated on what they saw in the media, and after speaking with several universities, we realized that a student's interaction is limited to an officer telling them what not to do.
From this, we knew we needed to focus some of our efforts towards international students. As they learn more, they are an opportunity for immediate change. Their perceptions are much more likely to shift from uncertainty and fear to respect and appreciation.
To create an approachable environment where officers and students could interact, we hosted the Meet Your Leos event. To promote the event, we sent email blasts, spoke with the Association of International Students, and hung posters around campus.
Attendees participated in stations manned by local officers, such as an Instagram photo booth, Meet Leo henna tattoos, and sobriety field tests. Local businesses got involved too by making donations. While some of the students were hesitant at first, they were sharing their personal experiences on our social media, and a few of them left even sporting our Leo tattoos.
We knew that the students would have some preconceived ideas about the officers, but we noticed the officers distancing themselves from the students too, which implied that they had some biases towards the students as well. But by the end of the event, they were actively engaging and sharing laughs with the students. 13 countries were represented at the event, and both students and officers had nothing but good things to say. The event generated press with the local broadcast news station and our university newspaper. This event is scalable and easily adaptable to universities across the nation and would be most impactful during an international student orientation.
Police and university administrators both agreed that a positive relationship with a Leo immediately upon students' arrival would be beneficial to both students and police. While focusing our efforts on social media and millennials was the obvious choice, we had to stop and ask ourselves, is there another group, another generation that is even more important in creating community trust with law enforcement? And that answer is yes.
Generation Z learns with technology and communicates using images. They are independent enough to start making the majority of their own decisions, but they are still learning where they fit into society, making them the ideal target market.
This generation needs a safe place to talk about issues that not everybody agrees on, and that place is in the classroom. During focus groups, teachers begged us for a way to talk about stereotyping and racism because they're middle schoolers. We're dealing with these things every day.
As a result, we wrote the Friends with Leo curriculum, which quickly became the heart of our campaign. This turnkey program is geared towards 10 to 13-year-olds and taught by a law enforcement officer. It replaces workbooks with an app and interactive games.
Because the media tends to not portray the whole entire story, we knew we needed to focus lesson 1 on communication. Students in this lesson learn the importance of knowing the whole story before making assumptions based on situational evidence. Lesson 2 focuses on the importance of stereotyping and racism through our Who Am I app. This app was created to show that the students also make judgments.
Students are able to play the app we created directly from our website. Launch the app brings up the game on a new page. Once the app is launched, players are shown one of our scenarios that were inspired by conversations with our focus groups. Players pick the character they think best fits the given description. If the wrong choice is selected, players are given an explanation and the opportunity to see the correct answer. If the correct character is selected, players receive more information on the character and are prompted to move on to the next level. This app serves to show players that judgments cannot be made solely on clothing, hairstyles, or skin color.
Because more students are using violence to solve their problems, Lesson 3 teaches conflict resolution and what it means to be an outstanding citizen. An online quiz provides real-time results and allows for discussion of how students should handle certain ethical scenarios.
Now watch as we walk you through the halls of Allen Village for Friends with Leo education launch.
The week of April 11th, the Missouri State Ad Team set off for Kansas City, Missouri to introduce their Friends with Leo curriculum to 6th graders at Allen Village School. The kickoff started with a 3D police car hanging from the ceiling to pique student curiosity and introduce them to the Meet Leo campaign. That morning, we were greeted by 62 curious minds, anxiously waiting to see what Meet Leo was all about. Officer Watson of the Kansas City Police Department was on hand and ready to discuss conflict resolution, ethics, stereotypes, and racism with the students. The Meet Leo app, designed by the MSU Ad Team, was a big hit. Students were surprised to discover that they made judgments based on clothing, hairstyle, and race. Next, the students brought out their computers to play the interactive ethics game. Officer Watson walked through each scenario and discussed that all actions have consequences, no matter how small or large they may be. The students talked about how their actions not only affected them, but also how it affects their community as a whole. Throughout the day, other Leos involved with youth programming stopped by to hang out and see what Meet Leo was all about. To end the day's lessons, the students asked Officer Watson burning questions they had about the personal life of a Leo. Afterwards, we spoke with Officer Watson and asked him what he thought about the curriculum.
I definitely think that this would be an excellent program to interact with the students because it's so important, again, for the kids to see another side of the law enforcement, that we are caring individuals. I'll be more than happy to present it to all the schools that I can.
We also asked Principal Dr. Amy Washington what she thought about the day.
You could see kids enjoying the interaction, and that's part of the goal. If you're going to establish a relationship, you've got to have an enjoyable experience with that person. That was happening today between kids and the officers that were here.
To conclude, the students were given a Friends with Leo worksheet to reflect on the day. As the kickoff was coming to an end, the positive impact was visible. The students were all smiles and eager to tell their family about their new Leo friends. Most importantly, the students learned who Leo really is. Leo isn't just someone in a uniform. Leo is someone they can rely on and turn to, a friend. These students now understand how they play an important role in making a happier, safer, and stronger community.
A pre and post test measured students' knowledge on criminal profiling, ethics, and decision making. 70% of students shared their day with their families. So why is this important? It illustrates that the curriculum doesn't end in the classroom. It opens doors for families to have those critical conversations and ignites a chain reaction, challenging preconceived notions of law enforcement.
All elements of our integrated campaign are housed on our live website, meetleo.org. Watch as we walk you through each page.
MeetLeo.org is an interactive platform that changes the way police officers and community members interact. A continuous scroll down the home page shows users a live feed from our Facebook and gives a brief overview of the other pages they can view from our site. Here, viewers are introduced to Leo's Nicole and Elise and see firsthand the personal life of a law enforcement officer. Rather than having a traditional About Us section, we created Who is Leo?, a shareable YouTube video that captures the mind of our target audiences and explains exactly who a Leo is and what our campaign is all about. The blog tab gives visitors the opportunity to meet the Leos we encountered along our journey. Clicking on the picture allows you to read their stories and share them via social media. Information about our Friends with Leo curriculum is also housed on our website under the Educators tab. Here, teachers are able to see a curriculum preview and contact us if they are interested in receiving the full curriculum. Located at the bottom of the page are downloadable versions of the anchor posters that go along with each lesson.
From beginning to end, our campaign was centered around humanizing law enforcement, building community trust, and enhancing relationships between the youth and Leos.
Through social media, we shared stories of officers beyond the badge.
An international event turned fear into understanding and created an immediate impact.
The Friends with Leo curriculum used an app, lessons, and interactive games to build a stronger community.
Meet Leo is a campaign designed to not only encourage citizens to gain trust in their law enforcement, but to encourage law enforcement to regain trust in their citizens. While stronger trust can't be achieved overnight, educating a younger generation provides the best path.
Ryan, a future Leo, said it best. Once you learn their story, it becomes much easier to understand their behavior. It doesn't mean you shouldn't serve justice, but it means you can serve justice from a place of empathy instead of hate. Thank you.
That was fabulous. Fabulous. So I hope our live streaming audience could enjoy that as much as we did who were physically present. So you all weren't here earlier in the week to hear Theron talk about his technological skills, and I have even less. So what you've done today is really challenged us and opened up a way of thinking. So we've got lots of communities represented here. If you were them, what would you tell them would be the next step for them if they want to use your campaign? How could they bring that campaign into their communities?
Are you speaking about it like the entire campaign or just like a specific aspect?
Whatever. Answer it any way you want to.
Yeah, I think a great way to start would be with social media, because social media is right there, it's ready to go, and it's easy to get those stories out there if you know the right way to go about it. So, like what we did, we used a hashtag and encouraged people to share those stories, and that was a way for them to share the stories that they might not have had before, and it really encouraged the people that viewed those stories to think about law enforcement in a different way. And I think that that's something that you can start doing in your community almost immediately, is start getting those stories out there and sharing those different stories that people might not have heard before.
So one thing that you and I know the answer to, but they don't know the answer to, about how easily this is to do. What was your budget to do this? How much did it cost you to do this? What did you how much money did we give you to work on this?
$2,500.
Did you hear that? $2,500. And look what we got. And so I say that to you all to say that, to make sure that you know that you can do this. You can do this. Now, two of you, who's graduated and getting the MBA? Two of you are doing that. And you're still in school.
I will be finished in December.
So, but I think that they can leave you their information, and you know how to get them on their Facebook. These are resources that you ought to tap. They're new college graduates or soon to be MBAs and college graduates who are looking to be able to share what they have. How about, is that a safe way to say it? So the question I have for you, if you were me, and sitting in my shoes, what would you have me do with this campaign?
I personally think the most important aspect of our campaign, and I think a lot of you guys would agree since you guys are here for the youth conference, is our curriculum. I think that brings to the table something that needs to be discussed, and I think Dr. Nguyen, she had mentioned how we need to have those discussions about racism and stereotyping, and we need to acknowledge that they exist, and that once we do that, that's the first step. And I think our app and the way our curriculum is set up, that helps tackle that problem. And I think students, they have to go to school, so especially at that age, so they're learning what the teacher is teaching them or what the officer is teaching them.
Thank you. So I know that you all are the ones who got here early and have had some exposure to the conference. Based on the research that you all have done and the work you've done, if each of you could just give one piece of advice to these communities. Well, and I want to say that before we do that, I want to say that the benefit of this of what you all have pulled together is I asked you to figure out how to reach young people, but you did more than that. You helped us reach young people, how to reach law enforcement, how to reach teachers. They covered the full spectrum of people represented in the community, so thank you for that. But if you would... So I'll let you decide who goes first, but one word of advice, one word of wisdom based on what you've learned through this that you would like to share with this wonderful audience here and on live stream.
Yeah, I think for me personally, just that last quote that was up on the screen, once you learn their stories, you understand their behavior. And for us, we learned so many stories throughout this process, and we were able to understand their behavior, and because of that, it made this process that much more impactful and that much more important.
I think a really big takeaway for me from all of this was realizing how young that children become affected by these issues. When we spoke with the students in Allen Village Middle School, we were just really shocked that not only had they been exposed to all these issues at such a young age, but they had such a deep understanding of the issues, and that they were able to have these conversations just really amazed us, and that was kind of what inspired us to create the curriculum in the first place.
Thank you.
My piece of advice would be, honestly, to go out and meet a law enforcement officer. If you see them in the community, don't be afraid of them, and don't be timid and things like that. One of the officers that we had met with, he told us a story about how he was in the grocery store and a parent of probably like a 6 or 7-year-old had mentioned, hey, don't be careful, like that officer's gonna take you to jail if you act up. And the officer went over and talked to the guy and was like, hey, just so you know, like that kind of instills fear, and that's the start of it. So my piece of advice, if any of you are parents of young ones, is to just kind of try to hold back on that, because that's only just the beginning.
Please join me in thanking this wonderful team. Oh wait, I want to do something. So there are 2 members of the team who didn't present. Would you come up here too so that people can see you? Yeah. So I just want you to recognize that we had 3 wonderful presenters, but they also had other additional support that came up with this campaign. So thank you very much for that. All right, stay close because we'll call you back up at the end. So we're going to now turn to our next presenters. Give them time to get their presentations ready. So now we'll hear from Texas Christian University. So please join me. Oh wait, they're switching out mics, so I'm going to stall for a minute. So I'm going to ask them later. For those of us how many of you don't have a Facebook account? I know I'm not the only dinosaur in this room. Okay, all right, that's really pretty. And Theron is over here going, He doesn't have a Facebook account either. I don't know what he's doing. So I will ask Missouri later, for those of us who don't have Facebook, how can we access this wonderful material besides going to our friends who have Facebook? So I just out of, I'm stalling in case you can't tell, just out of principle now, I refuse to get a Facebook page, but I have a twin brother who does have a Facebook page, and he made the mistake of accessing it from my iPad, and I have a memory. I don't remember names, but I remember numbers and stuff, so I do remember his password. Don't tell him, but I have not accessed Facebook through his account yet. All right, are we ready for Texas Christian University? Please join me in welcoming the TCU team.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much for having us today. We're so excited to be speaking to this audience about a project we care about so deeply. My name is Taylor Hardy.
I'm Kate Hamill.
I'm Catherine Rash.
I'm Martha McAuliffe.
And I'm Abigail Yonker.
The overarching goal of Project Unity was to create stronger relationships between youth and law enforcement. We want to begin today with a video that really exposes the root of the misunderstanding. It was a vital part of our creative campaign.
I begin every day with the intent to help. I'm not out to get you. I don't want the trouble. But some of these kids just live in a bubble. They think I want to take them or their family to jail. The relationship between us has become so frail. Since I'm in uniform, I've become a target for violence. I don't have the option to run, but I'm careful to pull out my gun. You've got to understand I have seconds to make a decision. I've got to depend on my instinct, my broken vision. Because like I said, I don't want to hurt you, but sometime, just one time, try stepping in my shoes. They just don't understand.
My father and brother have both gone to jail, which in turn made my relationship with cops become very frail. See, I know that they're out to get me, trying to find me in trouble, constantly pulling me over because they think I'm a rebel. But see, the thing that they don't get is that I've done nothing wrong. I've just been away from my family for far too long. Like, I don't want to go to jail, and I don't want to hurt people. Heck, I'm a good kid. I'm even on student council. So it's hard for me to build trust with someone in a uniform. Whenever they see me, they think I so easily conform to a stereotype. And then let a preconceived notion get into their heads, do the actions of some of my peers, and the stereotype spreads, there's no way they understand me.
Because it gets people to begin to think about the different perspectives, and we'll go into it a little more later in the presentation. So Project Unity had three main goals. We wanted to increase awareness of all the positive changes happening with the Department of Justice, as well as the officers in our communities. We also wanted to start a dialogue between the youth and law enforcement, and then in turn build stronger relationships based on trust between these two communities. We did this through digital and public relations strategies, so we created our own social media pages and website, we reached out to media, and we also hosted 2 events. Project Unity was designed for high school students. We specifically worked with Eastern Hills High School in Fort Worth, Texas. We decided to use this audience because we feel that these are our future leaders. They're about to graduate and go out into the community, and most of them have never had firsthand experiences with officers. So we thought this was the time to make those positive memories and have them carry that out. We also had 2 very vital partnerships. We worked with the Fort Worth Independent School District, as I mentioned, at Eastern Hills High School. We also received their support, and we're told that parts of our campaign will be used in the future in the Fort Worth area. We also worked with the Fort Worth Police Department. We had multiple officers support us at our events, and this was really cool because they became a secondary audience. They heard our messages, and they formed stronger relationships with students at these events. We also were very fortunate to learn that Fort Worth was one of the 6 pilot cities for the National Initiative on Building Community Trust and Justice. So we worked directly with Lieutenant Fred Long, who's pictured on the left of that photograph, and he came to our events as well. And this program was really complementary to what Project Unity was doing. They work more with the officers and use research and training, while we worked with the students. So they went hand in hand.
So to kick off our campaign, we started with research. With our time frame and resources available, we decided to conduct qualitative research. We started with a conversation with Lieutenant Fred Long. From gaining insights from our conversation, we also had 2 students do ride-alongs with 2 Fort Worth police officers. From there, we worked with Eastern Hills High School, where we were able to create 5 different essay prompts and give them to the school where they were used in different classes. We received over 100 essay responses from the students, which we then read through and used a coding system to identify common themes and ideas. From all the information gathered, we came up with 3 key insights. These can be seen here, as well as we put up 2 pull quotes from the student essays. One of the strongest insights that we gathered was that police and students want the same thing. They want to build community trust and have a safe environment through respect.
When coming up with the branding for our campaign, we chose to go to Eastern Hills High School and meet with 6 of their student leaders and to get their opinion on our ideas because they were the focus of our entire campaign. So our project name, Project Unity, basically came from wanting to unify the youth and law enforcement groups in our local population. Also, for our logo, the students voted to have 2 faces in the logo because that would represent our 2 perspectives of our entire campaign. Also, we chose the color blue because blue represents loyalty and trust, and that was a big part of our campaign. Also, we were able to create a t-shirt that we passed out to the students at one of our events. So that was something that was really exciting for us, that they get to actually broadcast our logo everywhere. And also for our tagline, Building Trust Beyond the Uniform, that was our idea that our 2 groups are trying to build trust in the local communities. So these are the 2 flyers we created for the 2 events we hosted. We wanted to create these and promote them across all of our social media because we wanted to increase student awareness, encourage engagement, and to increase attendance at our 2 events that we hosted at Eastern Hills. We wanted to create them with a pop of color, great designs, because we wanted the students to really see them as they were scrolling through their social media feeds. So the video you saw earlier, the slam poetry video you saw titled, They Just Don't Understand, basically encapsulates our entire goal to create a safer community. So with this video, our idea is that the distrust between the youth and law enforcement population stems from a mutual misunderstanding. We decided to use 2 different actors to show the 2 different perspectives we were representing through the campaign, and the entire video can be seen on YouTube. That includes statistics of the harsh realities of the communities all across America.
From a public relations standpoint, we held 2 events during the course of our campaign. The first was called Pops with Cops, and the second was a pep rally for the seniors at Eastern Hills High School. At Pops with Cops, we had 3 Fort Worth police officers and just over 150 students attend. And then at our pep rally, we had 9 Fort Worth police officers and 78% of the senior class attended. Pops with Cops was a way for us to introduce Project Unity to the students, but also promote our upcoming pep rally. Students were asked to come up with questions for the pep rally. They got to know the officers, and they also got to enjoy a delicious treat during their lunch break. The pep rally was really a highly interactive and aimed at facilitating that direct interaction between youth and law enforcement. So we had a Q&A with officers and students. We showed them our slam poetry video, which you guys saw, and then we also played a basketball knockout game. And then at the end, we held time for students to come down, get to know the officers, and ask questions for whatever was left on their minds. This video really encapsulates everything that happened at the pep rally.
any student in here. We all want the same things.
So media outreach also far exceeded our expectations. After our first press release was sent out, Univision 23 Dallas actually came and covered our pep rally, and then that was also shown on their 5 o'clock primetime news that night.
The digital interactive portion of our campaign featured a 5-platform approach to create a truly comprehensive online presence. The central hub of our online presence was our website, projectunityfw.com. On that website, you could see not only information about our campaign, but also event information, photos, updates, videos, anything that you could want to know about the campaign. The most important part of our website was the second tier of the 5 platforms, which was our blog. Our blog featured a variety of posts written by different members of the campaign team, and all featured information such as statistics and facts, as well as personal experiences with law enforcement, and most importantly, personal stories reflecting on Eastern Hills High School students, their experiences with law enforcement, and then also personal stories from law enforcement officers as well. We also had a Facebook account, which was our most interactive and most popular form of social media, and we also had a Twitter and Instagram account as well. Our overall campaign hashtag was #BeyondTheUniform, and we utilized that on every single platform of our 5-platform approach. Another thing that we utilized on all 5 platforms was both organic and paid media. We discovered that when we paid for advertising on social media, it increased our viewership by 104% and our likes by 48%. We chose to boost on Facebook the video that we showed you earlier, which ended up being seen by over 23,000 people. We also chose to boost 2 different contest posts, which ended up also receiving a high percentage of viewership on Facebook.
So our first contest we hosted was actually at the pep rally that you saw the video for. So what we did was we told the students, we said, hey, go on our Facebook, our Twitter, our Instagram, and post a photo using our #BeyondTheUniform. And then by midnight that night, and then we went online and we picked our favorite picture, and then we actually awarded that student with a prize. And then our second contest was a paid social media post. So we posted it on Facebook, basically telling any high school student to go on there and comment with their most positive law enforcement experience. We ended up promoting the event on Instagram as well, so that way we could get more of an audience. So we picked the top 3 stories that of the comments on there, and then we gave out 3 prizes to those students.
The most vital portion of our online presence campaign was the interviews that we conducted with Eastern Hills High School students and also with several law enforcement officers. We talked to these students at Eastern Hills about their personal experiences with law enforcement, and we wrote blog posts about them and then posted the blog posts also on all forms of social media. We also talked to a few law enforcement officers to get their perspective as well, and posted those with the student interviews to get both ends of the perspective. Finally, up here you can see a visual representation of the popularity of our social media pages. The best statistic that you can see up there is that we reached in 1 month on Facebook alone 70,912 people. 37% of those that we reached were between the ages of 13 to 17, and 20,000 people that we reached were in Fort Worth, Texas. Both of those statistics fall directly within our target market.
Project Unity worked because it created moments of direct interaction. It was an experience built on human connection. We have already seen so many positive changes in the Fort Worth community and really hope we can share this with students nationwide. Before we leave today, we wanted to share a few stories of what Project Unity truly meant to these students.
At our first event, Pops with Cops, we saw an initial hesitation from students to really interact with the officers. But the officers that were there were so welcoming, and they were so excited about what this project could do for the community, for the police department, and for the students, that by the end of the event, both students and officers were really taking the time to get to know each other and talk, which is what our campaign set out to do, is to build a community.
So at our pep rally, we were fortunate enough to have a female officer present, and that was incredible because at the end of the pep rally, we had a bunch of young girls going up to the officer, asking her about her work, her experiences, what she likes about her job and everything. And it was really delightful and overjoying for us as young women to see all of these young girls going up to this police officer and really being intrigued by what she does and seeing her as such a great positive role model for her community.
And finally, after the pep rally itself, the Fort Worth Police Department actually also created their own video highlighting their own experience with the students at the pep rally event, and they posted it to their own Facebook page. We were really excited to see that without any prompting from us, several Eastern Hills High School students actually positively commented on the Fort Worth Police Department's post. which we thought showed a really positive connection and their ability to create a lasting conversation with these law enforcement officers.
And these stories should serve as a testament to the power of Project Unity and the potential this campaign has to make a difference. Thank you so much for having us today.
That was just fabulous, fabulous. And so it just shows the power of youth in helping us address these issues in a way that, let's admit it, how many of us older folks would have come up with these wonderful ideas? Yeah, see, nobody's bold enough to raise their hands. You guys are good. You guys are really good. And we thank you for your creativity. So you all have a unique opportunity because you used yours in Fort Worth, which is one of our demonstration sites. If you were talking to our Building Community Trust team, and Ed Chung is in the back of the room who's leading our Building Community Trust effort, what advice would you give Fort Worth and our other demonstration sites about what they could do since they are so focused on this issue?
I think the biggest thing, and we learned this through talking to Fred Long, Lieutenant Fred Long, who's in charge of the initiative in Fort Worth, is just to really communicate with them. We reached out to him, told him our ideas, and he was so excited about it. And we kept him in the loop throughout the entire process, and he was always willing to help. He was always willing to be at any event we asked for, and he helped us get the rest of the Fort Worth Police Department involved. So just communicating and making sure that they're aware of what you're doing and what you want to achieve. I think that's really key.
Also, just another thing
Absolutely.
is the students were so eager to get involved, and so I think even having school systems having student leaders in charge and kind of really incorporated in the program is a big thing as
Excellent.
well.
So where are the young folks in the room? Did any of them come back? I see some of you, so don't act like you're not here. I see you right there. How are you responding to this? Does this reach you, touch you? Do you have any questions for any of our? Don't? Okay. Okay. So I just want to give them a chance to express, because that's your target audience there. But I love the fact that, again, your target audience is not just the youth, but it's also law enforcement, and you have changed their perspectives as well. So we've got 5 of you up here, so I'm going to ask you all the same question about what advice would you give us, those of us here who are thinking about these issues and take back to our communities about what we can and should do.
I think what you just said just right there, what we really wanted to focus on was not just trying to change the opinion or the stigmas of how the students feel about law enforcement officers, but we wanted to also make sure that law enforcement officers were aware of how students feel about them. We didn't want to just change one opinion, we wanted to change everyone's opinion, which we thought would be a more comprehensive way to change the relationship from both ends.
And I think building relationships is just absolutely key. You know, we've talked a lot about it, but you know, there's kind of that fear and hesitation of going up to a law enforcement officer. But once you introduce yourself, you know, and you get to know them, building that relationship is the first step to the next steps, and that's positive from there on out.
I think my advice on a different note, we seemed like we were so successful when we were doing our message testing. So we didn't even choose our name, our tagline, or anything until we went to our target and said, hey, what do you think about this? So I think the students were way more involved because they knew that they had a say in the color, the logo, the name, and everything. So I think whatever campaign is chosen or whatever y'all try to do, I think reaching out to the target to see how are they going to resonate with it? What do they want to see in a campaign? Because I think that is very vital. If they think they have a say in it, then I think they'll respond to it way better.
Excellent.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think working with students is a great way to reach the youth of America, and really having that open communication, seeing what their thoughts are, seeing how they think it would be best facilitated, and then having that open communication between law enforcement and the students.
For me, the most important thing is awareness. Going into this project, I had no idea these initiatives were going on, and I know the high school students weren't aware either. And then through things like our project or any of the other schools that competed in this competition, there's so much change that can happen from those, and I hope that everybody knows those are going on and really advertising those to the public.
So I'm going to ask you the same question I asked the other group. What was your budget for this? $2,500. Did you hear that again? $2,500. And so, my final question, you can, either any of you all can answer. You're the Assistant Attorney General for the Office of Justice Programs. You're in charge of figuring out how do we spread this message to communities. What would you do if you were me?
I would start with the slam poetry video. I think it really is a fast way of getting the two perspectives out and kind of breaking down those barriers.
Adding on to that, when we showed it at our pep rally, it resonated so well with the students. You know, at first I think they didn't they weren't sure what to expect at the pep rally, but the minute we started playing that video, I mean, the room just fell silent and their attention was captured and they were really, really excited about it. So, yeah.
Well, and this style of video in general is really popular on social media and tends to have viral videos. So I think that could happen pretty easily.
Now, the YouTube I do know how to use. So please join me in thanking this team, the TCU.
Thank you.
So, oh yeah, I was going to ask you. Oh man, I thought I was going to keep that. That's not, I'm joking, I'm joking. So now I'm going to tell you how to vote. And I'm going to let you know we do not have election monitors. This is going to be based on trust. Let's get that pun? Based on trust? Anyway, so so on your tables there should be one piece of paper for at least everybody at the table that says MSU and TCU. I want you to circle who you think is the winner from your perspective, and then you see a basket in the middle of the table. Put the votes in the basket. It's like church. Somebody's going to come pick up the offering basket. We only want the votes. We don't want any money. So please put your votes in the baskets. People will come and pick up the votes, and then we will tabulate, and after the My Brother's Keeper panel, we will tell you who the winner is. But again, I want to make sure you understand that both of these teams, no, you can't vote. She did ask. You're good. You're honest. The teams cannot vote. If you came with the teams, so let me tell you who can't vote. Adventures cannot vote, and the two teams cannot vote. And just to be clear, I'm not voting. We want our audience here to vote on, and again, you're all winners, but I like that spirit. You want to know if you can vote for yourself. That's really good. I hope you vote for yourself, because you're all really good. So with that, I am turning the podium back over to the people who ought to be in charge. Thank you. Can I get a drum roll, please? Can we have all of our two teams come up? But first, while they're coming up, I want to make sure that you all understand what a fabulous job Michael Smith is doing in leading MBK. And please join me in. And so he gave a lot of us credit, but he is a passionate advocate for this work. And I am sure, Michael, because I want you, where's Michael? I want to make sure you all know that Michael's not leaving this work ever. This is a passion for him. And none of us are leaving this work ever. And so this is just an exciting time to bring all of these initiatives together and to have the My Brother's Keeper umbrella as a context for continuing this work and focusing on a specific, really vulnerable group that will be our future leaders. So, speaking of future leaders, we've got two teams up here who have done a fabulous job. So please first join me before we announce the winner in thanking these folks for the great work that they've done. And I'm looking for Jeroma. Where'd Jeroma go? Oh, there she goes. Okay. And so you guys have done a fabulous job. Both of the products that you've developed are just spectacular. But you know that we only can announce one winner. And so I want to congratulate the team from Missouri State University in winning our first ever competition.